Hello, everyone. Welcome to RxM's latest cloud-native short take. I'm Christian Laksina, and today we'll short take how to work with Kubernetes service accounts and grant them permissions to perform tasks within the cluster. Most Kubernetes clusters control the ability of users to perform tasks in the cluster, like listing or deleting resources, with role-based access control. RBAC, as it is known, allows administrators to define a set of permissions, like the ability to create pods, and assign those permissions to subjects, which are users or programs, using API resources. My demo today will show a typical workflow that allows a containerized program running in a Kubernetes cluster to request a list of pods in its own namespace from the API server. To begin, I need to provide the program with credentials that the API server will accept. I'll create a service account named PodLister for this. Once created, I can view the service accounts in a namespace using kubectl get. At this point, I can test that this service account can get pods using kubectl's --as switch and the service's generated username, which includes the service account's namespace and name. Right now, my PodLister service account does not have the permission to list pods yet. Assigning these permissions is a two-part process. First, I need to create a role object. I'll name it pod listing. That declares the ability, known as verbs, to get and list pod resources. Next, I need to assign the role to my subject, the PodLister service account, in the default namespace. I'll create a role binding object for that, and I'll name it PodListing binding that takes the PodListing role and assigns it to the PodLister service account in the default namespace. With both in place, I will now try to list pods using the PodLister service account again. Great. My service account can now list pods successfully. Now, I'll need to assign the service account to a pod so its credentials are available to the containers in that pod. I can do this by providing the service account name key in a pod specification, which I have in this pod spec here. I'll go ahead and create this pod now. When the pod is created, the service account's credentials are automatically mounted in the container's file system at /var run secrets kubernetes.io. Let's check that directory. The credential I need is stored in the token file under the service account directory. Now, I'll issue a request to the API server that passes this service account token as its identifier. And there we go. I've received a list of my pods in this namespace from the API server after sending a request from a pod. You can learn more about RBAC and other topics by building your own custom Kubernetes course on rxm.com. On rxm.com, we have the Custom Courseware Builder. In the Custom Courseware Builder, you can find our RBAC module under the Kubernetes section. And that's our cloud-native short take on working with service accounts and granting them permissions to perform tasks in the cluster.